10 years ago this coming Monday, Washington Post journalist Jason Rezaian was detained in Iran along with his wife. He was convicted of espionage in a closed-door trial in Iran, subsequently spent 544 days in the notorious Evin prison. He's joining us now live from Washington, D.C. to talk about his mission to advocate for freedom of speech all around the world, including journalists. Jason, good morning. Good to have you here.
Charlie, thanks for having me. It's such terrible news that Evin has received this conviction, but I hope it also re-ups the need by the administration, Congress, and the general public at large to do everything that we can to bring Evin and other Americans who are being held hostage home.
I want to talk a little bit about Evin in just a moment, but you know this story all too well. Monday, 10-year anniversary of that day, you were detained. You spent quite a bit of time in that very notorious Evin prison. What has changed for you, Jason, over the past 10 years?
So many things have changed, Shelley. I think the day that we were arrested, I could not have imagined the tumultuous and horrific journey that my wife and I would go on for that year and a half, but also the support that we had from people around the world, but most importantly back here in the United States. And I've tried to channel some of that when I hear about these other cases of Americans being wrongfully detained by foreign governments, especially journalists, but everyday citizens as well, because this is a kind of abuse of power that we don't think about in our day-to-day lives, but it's happening. It's happening around the world, and the destruction that it creates for the individual, for their families, for their entire communities, it is not something to be discounted.
Targeting journalists, Jason, countries like Iran, the IRGC, Russia, China, targeting journalists. Why do you think they do that?
They do it for multiple reasons. When it's their domestic journalists, the intention is to silence their critics, to scare other people away from doing the work that you and I do. When they take an American or the citizen of another democratic country who's representing independent media outlets, it's a warning sign to those of us in the international media to say, hey, don't come to this country. You won't be safe. Don't think that we won't do this to you. And we see this happening over and over again, whether it's in Russia, China, Iran. The chilling effect that it has on coverage of these countries is long lasting. And it's a real detriment, not only to the people of those countries who no longer have anyone in the free world telling their stories, but a disservice to Americans who can't understand what's happening inside countries like Iran or Russia, key adversaries where we should know beyond what the governments in those countries proclaim. We should know what's going on in everyday life.
You know, with Evin in particular, there is some talk that now that he's been convicted to 16 years in prison, there is talk that hopefully he will be freed in a prisoner swap. Far too often, you are not the first. Unfortunately, given all the world politics that we see, you, Evin, not the last, used as pawns between these governments.
Look, this is a story that is old as civilization. Unfortunately, it's more often that journalists are being targeted in these cases because of the high profile nature of the work that we do and the responses that these hostage takings have in the public sphere. But I want to remind people that there is nothing to this case against Evin. No evidence, no witnesses. It's all completely arbitrary, designed to force the hand of the United States government. And I would say I hope that they act quickly to bring Evin home. He's already lost more than a year of his life with his family. He deserves to be reunited with them immediately.
Jason, you say they target journalists, but I know that there are a lot of dual citizens who are watching, people that have citizenship in many of these both countries that they travel. Do you think it is safe for dual citizens to be traveling globally, in your opinion?
Honestly, when a country does this, whether it's Iran, China, or Russia, more often than not, it's a dual national or someone with roots in those countries who's returned home. we live in a moment where I don't think people should return to their countries of origin. It saddens me to say that, but as someone who has lived through this nightmare, um, I want to tell everybody who's listening, don't go to these countries. Now isn't the time to do it.
Okay, Jason Rezaian, we appreciate your time. Thank you.